so many really cool sessions going on. So I will go ahead and get started. So hi, my name is Keith Taft, and I am the Educational Services Coordinator for the OnCampus Transition Program, which is located at the University of North Florida up in Jacksonville, so we're about 3 hours north of here. And sorry, I'm going to be going back and forth. I don't have my clicker. So I'm going to go over some objectives for this session today. So first one is learners, which is you all will be able to foster relationships between programs for people with IDD and college faculty. You'll be able to understand benefits to people with disabilities that come from inclusive classrooms, and be able to understand benefits to people without disabilities that come from inclusive classrooms. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the on-campus transition program. There are so many different transition programs in the state of Florida, which I love. So every model is a little bit different, and I love to say that there's not just one best model. So our transition program is for young adults with intellectual differences, and it provides a college experience on a university campus, and it provides students with hands-on experiential learning on how to become an independent, productive, and contributing member of society, and experience a full exposure experience to college life. And then we focus on creating authentic friendships with same-age peers, which I think is so important. Up here is our mission and our goal. So our mission is to provide an innovative college experience for young adults with intellectual differences, while providing transformational learning experiences to university students, college educators, and community leaders. And our goal is to create independent, lifelong learners who are connected to their community. Here's a few of our students. So there's us in a college classroom, and then this is our mascot at UNF. This is Ozzy the Osprey. And we have two more. So this is kind of what we believe at OCT. So we see OCT students as adults, and we respect them as adults. All of our students are 18 years old and older. And while they do have disabilities or differences, they are adults. They are also college students, so we treat them the same way that we would treat another college student. For some of our students that's new, they're used to kind of being only in a self-contained classroom, whereas our program is very out on the campus. And a lot of our students, looking at them, you wouldn't know that they had a disability or difference. So we want them to be prepared to be out in that world independently. We believe our students have the freedom and ability to make their own choices. We are very student choice focused. We have around 30 students every semester, and every semester they get to choose their classes. They get to choose what they want to learn, what they want to focus on that semester. They get to choose where they want to live for the most part. We have different residential programs, different residential facilities on and off campus, so they can choose what is best for them. We enhance their decision-making skills, but we do believe in natural consequences. So my favorite example of this is if you spend all your money that week, we're not buying your lunch. We're not buying your movie ticket if you spent all of your money. Sorry, this is not a good place to set out stuff.
This is all good.
So we are very, you make a mistake, this is a place to fail, but it's a safe place to fail. We do not provide 24/7 supervision, and this is the big one that a lot of people are like, well, we do that. We do not. There will be staff around in the day and evening, so I lead the day program, and then there's kind of a counterpart to me that does the evening program. But students are required to follow schedules independently. We use Outlook calendars, so everyone has their calendar on their phone. If we need to change it, if something changes, we can update it and it will go straight to their phone. We ensure safety and well-being while on campus. UNF is known as a pretty safe campus. Our students, for the most part, feel safe walking around. We always, if you're ever feeling unsafe at night, somewhere you've not been before, we always say, call me. I'll be on the phone with you while you walk there. Walk with friends, walk with a mentor. It's a very safe campus, though. We've never had incidents. And we provide every opportunity for students to reach their full potential. We believe that students are capable of becoming independent in the community with minimal support. So a lot of our students, once they graduate from our program, they are living independently. We had 2 students recently, they graduated this month. They moved into an apartment right off campus. 2 of them, they're roommates now. They were like the best of friends throughout their time in OCT, and I'm so happy that they had that opportunity. A little bit history of OCT. So our program was created in partnership with the Duval County Public Schools, so it's just the public school system up in Jacksonville in 2006. Our pilot year we had 3 students, now we have around 30, so we've grown quite a bit. And then the ARC Jacksonville, after that first year, kind of took over the program. And then OCT got to do its first official year in 2007 with 16 students. We have been pretty successful in not mirroring the traditional transition program model. So we are not a self-contained program on a college campus. Our students are in college classes with their degree-seeking matriculating peers. And they have full access to campus, so they can go to the concerts, to the sports games, to the, what else do college students like to do? You'd think I would know this, I went to UNF for 4 years. All the concerts, it's been COVID, everything's been closed, but they get to do all of the things that all the other college students are doing. So it's not just, I'm here, I'm on a college campus, they feel a part of the campus community, which is another thing that's been really important to me. So this is what a lot of people, they kind of want to how they have trouble envisioning exactly what this program is. So this is kind of a little breakdown. So our students get to audit a maximum of 2 courses per semester. It's actually a maximum, I want to say, of 6 credit hours. So if there's 1 credit hour courses, sometimes it's 3 courses. We have students who have auditioned for and successfully gotten into the band or the choir, or they do a 1 credit course somewhere. Students, for the most part, have access to any class on campus. It's based on what the student's interested in, but then we do get professor consent. So I'm always reaching out to the professor saying, hey, this is our program. Are you okay with one of our students in your classes? We got a 90–95% yes rate. The only thing we ever really get a no to is anything that's highly technical or for whatever reason might not be safe for our students. But for the most part, they can take whatever they want. And then the other thing, our students also are subject to the same restrictions as all the college students. So whoever clicks the button to get into the class fast enough, that's when you get into the class. Our students also do healthy living programs, so we aim for 5 days a week of some kind of physical activity. It's not always 5, we aim for 5, and that's not always gym time. That could be going for a walk, that could be playing a sport. We just got Special Olympics back on campus, so it could be anything like that, but we want to make sure our students are keeping up with some type of exercise routine. And then also doing nutrition-based things, so our students do have the freedom to go eat what they would like on campus, but we do guide them to those healthier choices, because all college students, they get that freshman 15. They're not eating at home for the first time, they're eating out all the time. We have some students that are ordering a pizza and eating the whole thing on Friday night, and we're like, no. So we work on that. There are dietitians on campus that our students have access to, and there are, what am I thinking of, nutrition seminars and things that are available for college students. Our students also participate in internships on campus if they don't already have paid employment. If they do have paid employment, they can continue that while in OCT, and we'll assist them with coordinating their own transportation if needed. We have some students who are employed on campus, so they can just kind of take that time out of their day and go do their job. Something that we can be flexible about is if a student is working, that still counts as their attendance at OCT, which is another thing I really love. So we have one student who worked at a grocery store, and he worked all day Wednesday, so he would just text us to check in the morning, text us to check in at the afternoon, and that was his day for OCT, because we always prioritize paid employment. If they do not yet have paid employment, we take steps to place them in an internship, which we have partners all around campus, so our students, I don't know if our whole list is in here actually. We have students that work with the different sports teams, with the student media companies, so newspaper, TV, radio. We have students who are working in food service. Generally pretty flexible with what they want. And if a student is not quite ready for an internship yet, if they still need to focus more on those career development skills, those work readiness skills, then we will work with them to make sure that they have those skills. The check-in, check-out, it's kind of like clocking out for a job. making sure you're able to have appropriate conversations in the workplace, those kinds of things. We will work on those skills as hard as we can, especially in that first semester, so we can get them into an internship. And then we do have an employment specialist full-time in our office who continues to support that employment or that internship while they are in our program. We also, all of our students can do extracurricular campus activities, so that's those sports games, those concerts, those games. We have something on campus called Market Days, which is just like a big tabling event for local businesses in Jacksonville. Different offices on campus. One of my favorite things to do is like, I don't have anything to do, and I'm like, go walk around Market Day, ask who's hiring. And we've had students who have been offered job applications and stuff just from that. So we're always like, go out there, go do stuff, make connections, go network. There are also workshops on campus that you enact posts, and then some that we have kind of brought in specifically for our students. So we've done one recently on the Jacksonville Disability Services Agency, like the city agency. We brought them in and had them talk about like what is there to do in Jacksonville as a person with a disability or a difference. And a lot of our students, there were so many things that they've never heard of. Our students follow the University of North Florida's academic calendar with small modifications. So our students, they come in 2 weeks before the beginning of fall semester, and we do a lot of orientation activities. We talk about how do you act in a college classroom, because it's very different than a high school classroom. We talk about, how do you find your classes? What do you do if you're lost? What resources are available to you? What fun stuff is there to do on campus? All that kind of stuff. And then in the spring, we have like a 2-day orientation, which is a lot of just reorienting, coming back from the holidays, and finding your classes again, because they change every semester, and they'll always trip people up. We use a combination of standard and self-developed curriculum that we can tailor to a specific student's needs. So we use Brigance. We do their assessments 3 times a year, and then we also have our academic, or our mentors in general, who can create lesson plans. They go through me, and then they can say, hey, student really wants to learn, the bus system. Can we just like ride around on the bus for our session? Like, yeah, sure, go ride around on the bus. Or I actually started as a mentor with OCT a few years ago, and I had one student who was like, Key, I know you're gonna say no. I wanna learn how to write a check. And I was like, when are you ever gonna need to write a check? And he said, I don't know, but I've seen my mom do it and I wanna learn how to do it. And I was like, okay, we'll spend a week writing checks, that's fine. Ooh, I think I clicked too fast, no I did. Okay, so what's unique about OCT? So there are a lot of programs, transition programs that are also really awesome that are run by the university themselves. OCT is run through the ARC Jacksonville, and something I really like is this gives us kind of the leg up on continuing to support our students, whether it's through other ARC Jacksonville programs, our employment services. I don't know if anyone's heard of the ARC Village, which is a supported living community up in Jacksonville. Or we can connect them with other community resources, whereas a college campus probably is the expert in finding those resources that are specific to our students. We also include a residential component, which more and more programs are starting to do, which is awesome because I love our residential program. Our students can live independently in a dorm on campus or an apartment that's off campus but has transportation to campus. And there's different setups for students who require different levels of support. So this could mean what our general setup is, what our baseline is it's a 4-bed, 2-bath style, either dorm or apartment. And all 4 of those will be OCT students. If someone needs a little more support, if someone needs a little more than that, we can have one of those rooms occupied by one of our independent living mentors who can kind of do more of the prompting, make sure everything's clean, make sure everyone's getting up for the day, getting ready to go. And we're also considered, technically on paper for funding reasons, to be a private high school that we accept. Now it's called Family Empowerment, it's not McKay and Gardner anymore. And that can cover part of the program cost until the student turns 22. We have some students who are nearly fully funded through the Family Empowerment Scholarship, which I love because it makes the program more accessible to students who otherwise may not be able to afford it. Sorry, I'm checking the watch. I will talk forever sometimes, so I'm not trying to get out of here fast. I just have to check. So our application process, if there's anyone here that either you're interested or you know someone who might be interested in it, We use University of North Florida's online application system. It's called Slate. We ask questions about the student's goals, student's needs. We do ask about medical history, any special medical needs that we need to accommodate. We do require an IEP, that's the most recent IEP or the equivalent if the student goes to a private school, support plan, whatever it might be from the school. A psychological evaluation. You can get these for free through your school, or you can get them for free through vocational rehabilitation, or you can privately seek this out. And we do require 2 letters of recommendation from someone who is not an immediate family member. So we prefer people who have worked with the student either in an educational or workplace context, but we've had extended family members, we've had therapists, we are pretty flexible. Then after this, we interview the student and we interview the parent, guardian, or family member, and a joint interview, and then we separate them and do 2 different interviews. There have been situations where the moment parents leave the room, the student is like, I don't want to do this, get me out, I can't do it. And that's when we know that maybe this is something that mom really wants, not quite ready student-wise. And that's okay. And then we have kind of 3 decisions afterwards. So we will either get back to someone and say, yay, you're admitted, you're going to start with us next semester, that's awesome. We do have a wait list usually. Sometimes this is just because someone wants residential and we don't know if we have the residential spot yet, because our residential program is a little bit smaller than our day program. Or if there's someone that isn't quite, OCT might not be what they're looking for, we can refer them to other programs, either through the ARC or through just general Jacksonville area, or if someone is from out of the area, we will do our best to connect them in their local area as well. Talking a little about inclusion in the campus community. So our students have the opportunity to be involved in the campus community to the extent that they would like to. And they can make friends with people within OCT and also anyone else on campus. Students can join any club on campus. I believe the last number that I looked up is UNF has over 300 clubs, so most of our students can find a club that they would like. They can use all the resources on campus for the most part. The library, the Women's Center, there's an LGBTQ center, intercultural center, sports games, making friends. I really like this because some of our students, the big sports games, the big concerts, that's not for them. That's not something that they are going to enjoy. But they can find a club that's maybe like 5 to 10 people meeting on a regular basis, and they can make some really good friends that way. And then in the students' classes and their internships, they work alongside their matriculating peers. So they are not expected to complete coursework at a college level, but they're auditing the class they still get to sit through. They either can try the assignments in the class if that's something they're interested in. They can try modified versions of those assignments, which would be me or one of the academic mentors maybe saying, okay, I see there's a 10-page paper due, so maybe we're not going to write that 10-page paper, but maybe we can do a 10-slide PowerPoint on the same information or what you learned in the class or whatever it might be. And they can submit that. And some of our students really just want to sit and they want to absorb the information, they want to practice taking notes, or they want to practice, sitting quietly in a college classroom and just, learning about things they're interested in, trying to figure out if they want to make a career out of it. All of that is fine. Kind of how we include families. So part of preparing students for independence is putting the student first. So for a lot of times, this is the first time they've ever been away from their family, from their guardian. And we, like I said, we treat them like adults. We hold them accountable. So we had a student, and he told his friend that he was upset at that you need to go sit in the corner and, for 5 minutes, stare at the wall for 5 minutes. And he texted me and was like, the student's being mean to me. And I pulled him in and I was like, dude, what was that? And he was just like, yeah, he was being annoying. And I was like, I don't care if he was being annoying. You were 21. You don't get to just tell people to sit in the corner. So we do hold our students accountable. All of our students do have, the ability to make choices and make decisions, and our students do know right from wrong, so we do hold them accountable if they're making mistakes. We do help them learn from those mistakes. I'm very, education focused, less punishment focused. We do involve families as well as the initial interview and acceptance process, and we do send out a weekly newsletter. Families are also, they can call, email us, come into the office at any point. With COVID, we've been asking if someone wants to physically come in to please let us know first, because sometimes We're also just a small team, so there's not always someone in the office available to take a meeting at that time. But we do strongly encourage families to let students advocate for themselves. So an example I can think of this is at the beginning of last year. Someone's mom emailed me and said, hey, my student says he hasn't been able to connect his laptop to the Wi-Fi on campus, so you need to help him with that tomorrow. And I said, okay, have him, ask me, and I will. The student didn't ask. So I was not chasing him around campus to go fix his laptop, because there are 30 of them, and one of me. Now, his mom emailed him on campus. He can't connect his laptop, and I said, okay, have him swing by my office. Just ask him to swing by. Didn't do it the next day. When Friday rolls around, mom's still saying he can't do it. Whatever. And I'm like standing out there, and he walks in to check in, and I'm like leaning on the front desk, and I was like, is there something you want to tell me? He's just like, no. And I was like, nothing about your laptop? He's like, well, my mom told you about that. And I was like, yeah, I know, but it's your laptop, and it's in your bag, so if you don't bring it to me, I can't help you. This is another question we get a lot, is how we place students in a class. So this is just kind of step by step. I meet with all of the students individually, and I say, pick out 5 classes. We go through the course calendar together. A lot of times they'll give me a general, like, I want biology, I want something with sports, I want theater, I want whatever it might be. We'll pick out 5. They'll only take 2, but I like to get lots of options, because some people don't always get back to me. Sometimes classes fill up, whatever it might be. I will then reach out to the professors, and I will request consent for the student to audit. I'll give a little background on our program, sometimes a little background on the student if it's more of a specialized class. So we have one student that her goal is to own her own business. So I'm requesting some higher level business classes for her at this point, because she's taken all the basic ones. And I was like, hey, she's already passed all these classes. Is it okay? And then they're like, oh, okay. Where initially they may have been like, well, she should take all these lower level business classes first. And I'm always available for questions. Some people like read the email and immediately call me, or like come into the office and they're like, I don't know what you're asking me. So I'll answer questions. I've sat with professors for hours assuring them that the world will not implode if they have the student in their class. If and when we get consent, because usually we do, I will register the student into a class in the same way that all the other students register. We go into their account, we select class, they register. And at that point, I'll notify the professor and say, hey, thanks so much for saying yes, the student is actually in your class now, and this is their name. Closer to the beginning of the semester, or sometimes right after the beginning of the semester, though that's not my preference, the professor will provide me the syllabus for the class. And I will take it and I will create an adapted syllabus that kind of focuses on the student's goals and focuses on what the student wants to get out of that class. And I will send it back to the professor and say, hey, I talked with the student, this is what they're interested in. Does this sound good to you? Because some of the professors, even though they've accepted the student into their class, are not clear that the student will not be doing all of the same work, even though they're registered as an auditor, so they don't have to. The student will attend class as an auditor. They may try assignments, they may try tests, they may write papers, they may not do any of those things, kind of depending on what their preferences are. And then at midterm grading and at the final report period, I send out a little 4-question survey that is kind of, how would you rate the students' attendance and punctuality? How would you rate their classroom behavior? How would you rate their participation? And do you have any questions or anything that you need help with? I encourage professors to reach out before that point if there's any concerns. They usually do not, and I'll get at midterm, hey, student has been on their phone every day in class for the past 4 weeks, and I'm about to lose my mind. And I'm like, whoa, hang on. Please call me the first time this happens. And if needed, I will sit down with the student and say, hey, what you doing? Because I tell them all before they even go into a classroom, because that's not something that you do in college. We had one professor, and he wrote in his little feedback form, he was just like, every day the student comes to class and he brings a full meal. I'm talking hamburger, french fries, milkshake, and he sits in the front row and he eats it, and every day he asks me for a napkin. So I pulled him into my office and I was like, hey, I heard maybe you're eating like a full Chick-fil-A meal every day in class. And he's like, yep. And I was like, okay, so you've been here for 2 years. What is the problem with that? And he's like, well, I'm not supposed to eat in class. And I was like, okay, so where's the disconnect? He's like, well, I'm too hungry to eat after class. I'm like, well, you have a break before class. He's like, oh, do have a break before class. I can eat before class. And then he did. And it was never a problem again. And the professor would not have had to put up with that for like 6 weeks. If he had emailed me, I would have immediately brought him in. But I encourage professors to reach out to me at any point. Usually it doesn't happen until I specifically am reaching out and saying, hey, what feedback? Do you have any feedback? Adapted syllabi, so this is kind of, I will take the goals, the assignments, the papers from the classroom, and I will give a copy to the student and the professor. It includes relevant information to the course, if there's a textbook required, that kind of stuff, and then the student's goals. Every time I've tried to put this up here, it's been super blurry, so I'm sorry it's super blurry. But here's an example of an adapted syllabi for a student that's maybe they want to do more, they want to do more of the interactive stuff in the class. So here's just kind of the information for the class so the student can see when and where does the class happen. It's got their name on it right here in red. Course description is an objective. This is copied directly from the course syllabus. And then the student's personal goals, so the student wants to turn in all the assignments. Do well on them, maybe, maybe not, but turn them all in. They want to check Canvas, which is our learning management system where all the assignments are submitted. They want to check it independently. They want to know when it's due, what is due, without help. The student wants to participate in class discussions, and the student wants to ask clarifying questions. So the student wants to practice saying, I didn't understand that, can you explain it a different way? And the student will ask their academic mentor for assistance if they need help. And then we talk a little about what the student is expected to do in the class. So the student needs to come to class prepared with pencil and paper each day. So the student's probably going to be taking notes. The student will display appropriate classroom behavior. The student will complete assignments. Students will, again it's so blurry, communicate additional needs to the professor independently. And then accommodations, modifications for, I would say 99% of our students, it says learns with assistance from an academic mentor who is employed by our office. So it's nothing additional that the professor has to do. And I will always tell all of the professors, like, we are providing all the additional supports, and that's generally, because a lot of professors are, I say, hey, can a student need your class? And they say, what do I have to do? Nothing, just have them, let them sit. So we provide all those additional supports. Here is a adapted syllabi for a student. Let me see. I think this is just a different type of class. This is an older presentation, but this is just another one. Participation in the classroom. So students can kind of choose what level of participation they're comfortable with. Very much varies from student to student. We have students who are totally non-speaking, so the class discussion aspect, they're not going to do it, but they are going to show up, they are going to take notes, they are going to sit appropriately in class, and maybe they're going to try the homework assignments. We have some students who reading and writing, they just haven't gotten there, and they're 18 years old, so they're probably not going to get too much better at reading and writing, but they're going to go to class, they're going to draw a picture of what they learned, and after class, they're going to come to Key, and they're going to say, hey, Key, this is what I learned in class. So participation may include completing assignments or modifying assignments, so PowerPoint instead of an essay kind of thing. Taking tests and quizzes. Our students don't have to, but they can try if they want to. Taking notes. That's something I always like to have our students practice, even if the notes are mostly drawings or a few words, just to remember what you learned. Participating in group projects, giving presentations. If a student will give a presentation in class, I will come to the class and I will watch them give the presentation, I will clap, and I'll be super embarrassing. Like, I love when they will give presentations. And then some of our students want to attend office hours with their professor, and they want to prepare those questions in advance. So we have some students that, like, my professor has office hours, I'm just going to go to them. Okay, what are you going to do? And they're like, I'm just going to go. No, you have to figure out what you want to talk about first. But then you can go to those office hours. And then communication with professors, most of the communication is done through me as well. So I get written professor consent, mostly because sometimes I have to do like weird overrides in the system to get them in the class. So just having in writing a professor saying, yes, they can audit my class is always really nice, and I can keep that on file if anyone ever asks, how did you get this student in this high-level biology class? Well, the professor said it was okay. Professors are also given an open line of communication, so if they have any questions or experience any concerns, like I said, a lot of them don't. They just don't say anything until it's been a problem for a while. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, awful. Then I solicit that feedback twice per semester. Participation is optional. I can't force anyone to fill out my 4-question survey, but by keeping it short, we do get a pretty good kind of turnaround for feedback, which I like, because I use that to provide feedback to the student, which is very important. These are areas that kind of we want to grow in terms of communication. So some of the feedback we have gotten from professors is professors don't know when it's appropriate to contact our office. So we got a lot of, I'm so sorry to tell you this, I didn't want to bother you. It's now been going on for 4 weeks. And I'm like, no. Literally any concern you have, like I'm not too busy, please contact me. Being too busy to respond to surveys. So there are some students that, since they're only taking 2 classes, if 2 professors don't respond to that survey, the student is not getting any feedback at midterms or finals in regard to how they're doing in class. A lot of professors have asked, how do I explain, if the student maybe is stimming or if they're doing things in class that they're not bad, they're not wrong, they're just kind of indicative that the student might have an intellectual disability. How do I explain that to my other students, especially if we've had professors say, hey, there's another student who's bothered by this. And I was like, well, I'll talk to them for sure, but I understand wanting to communicate that. And communicate, making sure you're more patient, make sure you're understanding of all people in your classroom. I've had professors say no because they think that there's going to be additional work involved on their end, which is always interesting. I say that there is not. Some of them still are like, this seems like too much for me. And then we've had one professor that this honestly broke my heart, this last one. He was a sculpture professor from last semester. And he kept emailing me and saying, the students don't understand all the material. And I said, yes, they're auditors, they don't have to. He's like, I feel like I'm a bad professor. I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I went to the class to see, is something glaringly off? And it really wasn't. Emailed him back and said, hey, after observing your class, I think the students are doing great, they're having a good time, they're participating, they're asking questions. And he said, they don't always understand it, and I just don't know what to do. And I kept saying, you're doing great, they're going to get some of it, they're not going to get all of it. If you say 20 things, they might get 3 of them, but that's 3 more things than they knew before about sculpture. At the end of the semester, he said, I cannot take OCT students anymore. It made me feel bad about myself for them not doing as well. So that's something that I really, that has stuck with me for a while, honestly. And I think he's our second case study, but our third case study, so this is Professor M. She worked with us for over 5 years. She has taken so many OCT students in her class, so many. She teaches theater classes, acting classes, lots of getting up and moving around, which our students, any class where our students can move around, they love those classes. She's loved our students so much that she's offered internships for our students to participate in. She also runs the theater club. I think it's called the theater club. The swoop troupe, that's what it's called, the swoop troupe on campus. And she also communicates pretty regularly with our office. If she ever has questions, she asks us. And she gives really great feedback about how students are doing. It's not just good, okay, everything's good. She's actually kind of breaking stuff down. Beginning of the semester, the student was really shy, didn't want to participate, now they're participating, kind of thing. This is the second professor, this is the one I was talking about, the sculpture teacher. So at the beginning of the semester, he was super enthusiastic, took students into our program. He kept contacting me, I never say excessive because I always invite the communication, but a lot, very frequent. And he said, I'm not doing them justice. He was very worried that the students weren't retaining all of the information, essentially, and that their projects were not of the quality of other students. I kept going to this class, saw no issues, literally was this is the best experience they could be having in a class like this, I'm so happy. He was giving coaching and reassurance, and this is a little bit of an older PowerPoint. He said he would be willing to take OC students again. When I asked him, he said, I can't do it. Because it was stressing him out so much. And I kept going back to this class because it was so, I'd never had an experience like this before. I work with, between 60 and 100 professors a year, and I'd never had this before. But it just stressed him out so much. And I think there's a deeper education issue needed on his behalf here. But that was kind of one that's not as successful, but we're getting there. I'd love to reach out to him at some point and be like, would you take one student and I will sit with them the whole time. Successes. So we've had over 100 students graduate from our program. This number is probably higher now. We have a 2-year and 4-year program, and then unofficially we have some students who come for 3 years as well. Spring 2022, we have 28 students enrolled in our program. Last time we really did a survey about this, 75% of our students were employed after graduating from OCT. I don't know where this number is going. When we were like middle of like high COVID times, I would have said this number was probably lower. But now from the alumni that I'm connected with, I would say this is still a pretty accurate number. But I really want to get back and do another alumni survey. After graduating, a lot of our students live independently. They live in apartments. The Art Jacksonville Village, again, it's like a supported living community in Jacksonville. Group homes, which is awesome because by the end of 4 years, our students, even the ones who have not done a residential program, most of them are like, Key, I can't go back to living with my mom. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to live by myself. I want to be independent. I want to have a job, which is like something I love to see. Because I do all the intake interviews, and one of the questions we ask is, where do you want to live after college? And a lot of them will say, well, I can't imagine living anywhere but with my parents. I can't. That's scary. And then by the end, we're getting mostly like, oh, please don't make me live with my mom again. Like, I want to go do something, which is awesome. Because all our parents are really awesome, but I think they're also at that point where like, I would like my kid to not live with me forever. So win-win on both sides. I also am very proud to say I've seen a lot of benefit to our campus community outside of our program, specifically other college students. So we have AmeriCorps that work with our office and mentor our students. So that's one big way you can get involved. AmeriCorps is a paid position. So those are the people that are most involved with our office. If students cannot come to AmeriCorps or they're not looking for a kind of paid position, they can do volunteering with our office, which is like a 1-hour minimum per week commitment. So if they come in and they say, hey, I'm taking 5-6 classes and I have an internship, but from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm free and would love to work with your office. Awesome. We'll pair them up with a student and they can meet from 10 to 11 a.m. every Monday. And they can just hang out, and then that person gets more involvement with our program. Our students can also be peer mentors in class. We have not had as much of this lately, again with COVID. We're trying to get back into this. But they can be kind of a note taker for our students, or just kind of like a buddy to sit with, because it's scary going into a college class if you don't know anyone. Our students participate in clubs and on-campus events, so a lot of UNF students meet our students this way. And then our students are also in internships on campus that are public-facing, so they interact with a lot of people. More benefits. So this is just things that we have observed. We've observed people. A lot of this is through AmeriCorps, because I also supervise all the AmeriCorps. They sought out work for volunteer experiences with the ARC or with other organizations after meeting our students. We've had several people who have like changed their major, changed their complete career path to work with exceptional student education, disability services, counseling, something wanting to work with populations like our students. Or they could use an existing major or career path and just kind of been like, oh, I could do, I want to be a counselor, but now I want to be a counselor for people with IDD. We have a current AmeriCorps member who's about to finish in 2 months. We're going to miss him so much. But he wanted to do psychology, counseling, something like that, and now he's like, this is the population that I want to do that with, which is awesome, because we can never find counselors for our students. So I'm like, as soon as you are licensed, I'm sending everyone to you. And then a lot of our AmeriCorps mentors, volunteers, people that meet with our students continue those friendships organically after the OCT student has exited the program, after the volunteer service is over. They're still texting back and forth, and our students have those like friendships. Overall, it's just really fun. I love seeing our students succeed, but I love seeing other students on campus like enthusiastically involved, not just be like, oh, like I have a volunteer thing that I have to do for a class. They're like, oh, I'm so excited to meet with this student this week. I'm so excited to hang out with them. All of our AmeriCorps members like got to watch a live stream of our students graduate on stage at UNF, and like where I was getting like congratulations like everywhere. Like people genuinely love our students, and that makes me very happy. Any questions, comments, concerns? If you didn't get stuff, I'm happy to pass you out some stuff.
The question.
Yeah.
We came in just a little bit late. Okay, as far as is APD, as far as the cost of it, does APD cover?
Yes, APD can cover our program.
Okay.
I'm not sure the specifics of it. Our office manager handles all the like.
Okay, and then what about voc rehab?
Voc rehab does as well.
Okay,
Which has been really
okay.
awesome.
And then if you choose like not to do the residential program, like what hours does the program actually run?
So currently we're running from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're currently having the discussion that no other college student is on campus at 8:30 a.m. So I think we're gonna push that to like 9.
Okay.
So like 9 to 3:30, maybe
Okay.
9:30 to 4 kind of thing. But it's an 8-hour day roughly.
Okay, and do y'all have several students that don't live on campus?
Yeah. So usually we have roughly 30 students total in our program, and about 20 of them live on campus. So most of them live on campus at least for like a year of the program, but it's not required at all. Some people, it's just not right for them.
Okay, and then is it set up to where, like right now, for like personal care services or anything
So we
like
currently
that?
don't offer personal care services, but if somebody wants to live on campus and needs more personal care services, they're welcome to have an aide, and we can kind of coordinate, making sure they have access to the
Okay,
room.
so there are options.
Yeah.
That meet you wherever your level of
Yeah.
that you, okay.
Yeah, we can be very flexible, which I really like. So we have one student coming in, and she is in a wheelchair and she's paralyzed, so she's going to need more of that kind of personal care stuff, and we're learning kind of along with her mom and with her what level of support she really needs, because it's one of those like, you lived at home all your life, mom's been able to do it, so if you just remove mom,
yes.
what do you really need? Because
Yes.
I was talking to her without mom in the room, and she's like, well, you know, I can transfer into the bathtub by myself, but my mom is always there in case I fall. And I said, okay, have you ever fell? And she's like, no. I was like, okay, so would you feel comfortable getting into the bathtub without mom there? And she said, no, I wouldn't. And I said, well, why not? She's like, well, what if I fall? And I said, okay. So maybe we're gonna get you like a life alert button, or we're gonna have you have your phone right there, whatever it is, so you can feel comfortable doing that by yourself, because I'm pretty sure she can. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Are you guys based at UNF?
Yeah, so we are at UNF. We have an office like right on campus. We're in the education building.
Okay, so is this similar to a lot of the programs that have been popping up, like usually called autism support programs, but they work with IDD also? I think there's one at UF now.
Yeah, I would say there's lots of different transition
Yeah.
program models. So like we're definitely like in the same realm
Gotcha.
of
Okay.
stuff. Everyone's a little bit different. And I always say like there's no one model that's perfect for everyone. Some students do better with like more of a self-contained model. Some students need a lot less support than we do, and they're like, what do you mean I have to check in and check out every day? What do you mean you have to know where I am? And like that's like way too much for them. And then there are some programs that offer different like certificates or trade school certifications type thing, which is not something we do, but it's something that we're trying to get into. So I'm very much like, it very much depends, which is why I'm not afraid to refer families to other programs if they're like, I'm like, your student could totally do something else.
This has been excellent.
Awesome, I'm so glad. And for everyone who has a folder, my business card should be in there. So if you have more questions, or if you ever want to tour a campus, or come to one of our open houses, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I have more business cards up here as well. Also more stuff that I really don't want to take back to Jacksonville, so if you know anyone, you're welcome to take more stuff.
For the ages, is it up to 22, or can they
so,
participate after 22?
We're loosely 18 to 26.
Okay.
Family empowerment will only fund up to 22.
Right.
Voc rehab, APD will fund any age, or we also take private pay, so most of our students will stop around age 22, or they'll be in like their second or third year at age 22, and during that time, since family empowerment has been paying for it, the family has been saving up knowing that they will need to maybe do more out of pocket. The following years, we try to work with people on funding. We are trying to figure out how to take Florida prepaid now. We're getting a lot of pushback from Florida prepaid. They don't like it, so I don't know if that's something we can promise for future students. We have like one student who's on, and I still don't think we've been paid. It's been like a year, so we're trying to get there. They just also don't understand our program, so we're trying. We want to make it more financially accessible. Another thing that I want to do is like get a scholarship together, because we don't currently have like an OCT scholarship. There are private scholarships, so there's like Ruby's Rainbow for people with Down syndrome and stuff like that. But I would love to do a scholarship for OCT because every year we'll have 1 or 2 students who have not yet completed the 4 years intended to, and then can't get the money together for that last year. So I'd love to be able to be like, we'll do it. It's fine. Come back.
Yeah. Is there a way that using some other agencies within Jacksonville?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those, like, yeah.
I'll talk to you.
I know, I was like, please talk to me. I'd love to. It's something our former director was, like, really hard going on a scholarship, and then we had to switch in directors, and our new director, like, it's not that she doesn't want it, it's just there's a lot of things that we're working on. But I would love to do scholarships just for a few students. Like, we're a small program, it doesn't have to be that much, but, you know, we're a nonprofit, so there's only so much we can do.
And it seems like in our community, because I live close to Jacksonville too, if people were aware of the need.
If it was up to me, honestly, this program would be free. I would love to offer it, just no cost to families at all, and just invite everyone to come do it. Because in my opinion, learning does not stop after age 22, especially for people with disabilities or differences. And I think this program and programs like this are just so beneficial to students in a way that regular classroom education can't really mimic.
Yeah, you can't recognize that.
Yeah, we always say to parents, you don't know what you can't teach your kid until we take them and you're not there, kind of thing. Because even I as a teenager was like, yeah, I know how to do laundry. Like, my mom will do it, so I'm not going to do it. And then I moved out and was like, oh, and I have to go grocery shopping. I don't know how to do that. Or my brother has autism, and he's 21 this year, and he just now started trade school. So he tried college, wasn't working, tried a few things, wasn't working, was staying home, playing video games all day. And then one day, apparently, he went up to my mom, you like a video game? One day he came up to my mom and he said, Mom, I want to build ships. And my mom was like, okay. Sent him to trade school. He's now actually completed it, and he does 3D modeling for military ships. I don't know what he does. I'm not a computer person, but he's always been very
that is amazing.
computer coding minded. Talking to people, absolutely not. You could talk at him for hours, and he would do everything possible to not respond to you. But now he does 3D design of ship hulls. He's explained it to me, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm so glad. And he's like, what do you do? And I tell him, and he's like, I couldn't do that. So we're very, very polar opposite. But we look like twins, which is very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Any other questions? Anything else? Okay, I didn't go over on time, which is good.
It was great. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, feel free to, if you don't have my business card, come grab it. I'm going to be walking around all weekend because this is the first family cafe that I've been to in person.
You're gonna love
so I'm
this.
so excited. Yeah, I've seen a virtual one last year.
Oh,
But I was just trying to find this room, and I was like, there's so much happening.